Hi guys, welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to be talking about or taking you through how to create a pant sloper professionally. If you've been watching my channels, you'll see that I try to make it slow and steady and as simple as possible, especially for the beginner. This is one of my videos in my series of pattern making classes online or pattern drafting classes online. So if you've not watched the other videos before these videos, I will list all the videos below this video so you can go ahead and watch it. Especially if you're new to pattern drafting. I make this course as simple as possible for somebody that just wants to start to learn how to do pattern drafting. So in this video, we are going to be drafting our basic pants or basic trouser sloper. So without wasting much time, let's go start. Before we start, I will have a link below this video where you can download all the measurements you need that you're going to be using to draft this sloper. You're going to need some measurements and you're going to need some calculations. So it is best you download the pattern worksheet where you're going to register or put in all your measurements, and so you can draft the pattern and follow along with me as I show you how to draft your pant sloper professionally. Let's go. So now, before we actually start, once you've downloaded your body measurement worksheet for your pant sloper, you're going to have to carry out your measurements. As you can see, there are quite a lot of measurements to carry out. And the download comes with also a picture on how you are going to carry out those measurements. It comes with this picture on how you're going to carry out those measurements. And then it also comes with calculations that you're going to make. Now, the reason I want to emphasize this is that there are certain calculations that I will be mentioning while I am doing drafting the sloper. So I don't want you to be confused. That is why it's good you have this download. For instance, from here you can see calculations for the draft. Something like FBW. That is your front back width. So how to calculate your front back width is your hip circumference divided by 4 plus 1/4 of an inch. If I'm talking about the back width, I'm talking about the hip circumference divided by 4 plus 3/4 of an inch for ease. So that is the back body width. So that is why it's so important you download this, so that when I'm mentioning those measurements, you actually have an understanding of what I'm talking about, and you've also done your measurement and recorded it on the worksheet. So once you are done with that, what you need to do now is to get your pattern paper. It's going to be quite long pattern paper. And you're going to have a pattern paper measuring 36 inches, or rather 38 inches by 46 inches. 38 inches this way by 48 inches this way. So next, just separate the pattern paper by a line. That is the line separating it into 2 equal parts. So if this is 36 inches, then that means half of this will be 18 inches, half of this will be 18 inches. And then on that line that you do, you're going to come down 4 inches. And from that 4 inches, you're going to measure your out seam measurement. My out seam measurement is 40 inches. So from here, I'm going to take it for 40 inches and I'm going to mark it right there. That's my 40 inches. And that line, I labeled it as the out seam length. So I've gone ahead to put all the basic lines for the trouser. Of course, we know the waistline. This here is the hip line. This here is the crushed line. to get your hip line just from your waist to hip measurement. And then your crotch line is for you to sit on a chair, measure from your waist to that chair, and that gives you your crotch depth, where you're going to measure from the waist up to where the crotch depth measurement is. And of course, square a line across for your back pant and your front side. The paper is quite long, so I'm trying my best to see how to make it easy. So once we have our lines, your waistline, your hip line, and your crotch line, the next thing we are going to measure is what I call the front body width. So please refer to your downloads to get the front body width. But the calculation for it is your hip circumference divided by 4 plus 1/4 of an inch. That is your front body width. That's, you see FBW there, front body width. And that measurement, we are going to do it along the crotch line. So the front body width will be from this center out seam line. You measure for the back body width, and from that same center, you measure towards that side for the front body width. And once we measure it, you're going to square that line and draw it to meet your waist line. And that is going to form our center front line and center back line for our pant sloper. Next is to mark the front waist and the back waist. Now, to get your back waist, remember these are back, to get your back waist measurement is your waist circumference divided by 4 plus 1/4 of an inch for ease plus 2 inches for the dart. I repeat, your back waist measurement is your waist circumference divided by 4 plus 3/4 of an inch plus 2 inches for the back dart, because we are going to be giving 2 back darts. For your front side is your waist circumference divided by 4 plus 1/4 of an inch. So that means for the back side, when you divide your waist circumference, you add 3/4 of an inch before you add the inches for the dart. That is for the back. For the front, after dividing your waist circumference by 4, you add 1/4 of an inch, and then you add 1 inch for that. So that's the difference. That's exactly what I'm going to do now. Now for the back part, before you put that measurement of your waist, back waist measurement, you, from the center here, this is the center back, you measure 3/4 of an inch. And then from this 3/4 of an inch, I will now measure my back waist. And my back waist in total is 10 3/4 of an inch. So I'm just going to measure that from here to get 10 3/4 of an inch, which is right there. There. And I'm going to mark it. And that is my back waist measurement. So now we are going to be creating the back dart. And to create that, you need to know the measurement of your princess seam, your back princess seam. Normally, the princess seam is your bust span divided by 2. So that is for your front princess seam. For instance, my bust span, if you don't know what a bust span is, your bust span is the distance between one part of your nipple to the other part, and then divided by 2. Mine, the distance is 8. When I divide that by 2, I get 4. But that is for the front princess seam. We are creating the back. And for the back, just remove 1/2 inch. So my back princess seam is 3.5 inches. And that 2.5 inches is going to be the center point of my first dart for my back part of my pant sloper. And I'm going to be taking that measurement from this measurement. Remember this measurement where we took 3/4 of an inch from the center back line? So we're going to start there and we're going to measure 3.5 inches. That is the center line of the first dart. Now, to get the second dart, from that center line, you measure 1/3 of an inch. That will be for the second center line of the second dart. So I'll measure from that line 1/3 of an inch right here. And that is my second dart. And the back dart length is normally 4 inches long. So I'll just measure 4 inches for both of them. And then I'll draw in my darts. That is 4 inches long for the first one. And 4 inches long for the second one. And remember we took in 2 inches for that intake. So that means the first dart will take in 1 inch, the second dart will take in the second inch. So that will be 1 inch, like so. Then measure 0.5 inches, 0.5 inches. And also for the second dart, get the center, 0.5 inches, 0.5 inches. So that is how we are going to now form our dart, first dart and second dart. So I've drawn my back dart. We are going to use the same method for the front dart. We are going to do it on the other side of the pant sloper. But the only difference between the back dart and the front dart is the length of the dart and of course the distance between the two darts. And of course remember your bust span divided by 2. So the distance from the center front to where the first center of the first dart is going to be 4 inches because that's the front, as I mentioned earlier. And then the length of the dart for the front is 3 inches long. Then the distance between the first leg and the second leg is 1.5. That's just the difference, but the method is the same. So I will now go ahead and create the front dart. So that is the dart for the front. So my princess curve from the center front, from here to here, is 4 inches. And then of course the line taken, the taken here is 0.5 inches. Remember, because we took in 1 inch for the front dart. So 0.5 inches here, 0.5 inches here. And of course the leg of the dart is 3 inches. Unlike the back darts, as I said, I've already explained to you what the distances between the two and all that. So now let's curve our crotch curve. The very first thing you need to do is to find the distance between the waistline and the crotch. Remember, this is the back part of our pant. So you know, I've told you before, if you've been watching my videos, to be able to get the midpoints between 2 points, just place your tape like so, and then just fold to meet it at the end here. So, and that is the midpoint. And I'm going to mark it. And I'm going to draw a line. Remember our waist measurement for the back right there. And I'm going to draw a line to pass through that midpoint and touch the crotch line. Now you come to the intersection between the center back and the cross line right here. And then we're going to draw a diagonal line, just a short diagonal line there, right from that point. Just draw a diagonal line. And then on this diagonal line, you're going to measure 2 inches and mark it. We'll measure 2 inches. And we're going to mark it right there. And then we are going to curve. Bring your French curve. And you're going to place it such that it passes through the 2 inches line, the center line right there between the waistline and the cross line. And then it will now drop on the cross line. But before you do that, remember our cross extension. To get your cross extension, this is the back cross extension. There's a formula for it, which you will see it on your download, but I also mention it here. To get your back cross extension, it is equal to your back body width, which you already calculated, divided by 2. My back cross extension, when I use this calculation, is 5.8 inches. Now that 5.8 inches, I'm going to be measuring it from my cross extension right here. I'll start from this line. This is our center line. And then I'll just measure that 5.8 and I'm going to mark it right there. So that is where the cross curve is going to come, like so, pass through here and then up to here. So you place your French curve in such a way that it ends on that line, like so. Passes through this place. So let's now draw it. It's going to be like that. And then it joins up here. So that is the back cross curve for my pant sloper. The only difference between the back one and the front one is that when you're drawing the front curve, this distance here is 1.5 inches. You're going to mark. And you don't need to find the center. You just draw the line from the center front to form the curve at the center part of the front part of our pant sloper. So I've gone ahead to do the front cross curve. As I said, the only difference between this one and the back curve right there is that the diagonal line from the intersection of so this now is the front cross curve. The only difference with the back is that the diagonal line here, you're marking it 1.5 inches. I don't need to find any center point here. Just mark the 1.5 inches, do the front cross extension, and to calculate your front cross extension, you just divide your front body width by 4. I repeat, divide your front body width by 4. All these calculations are on the download. If you click the link, it will be much easier for you. Everything is completely explained there for you. So now we have our front curve ready and also the back curve. So we're now done. We are done with the curves, the cross curves, the cross curve of the front right there and the cross curve of the back right there. So now we are going to be working on the waistline. To do that, first of all, you go to the center front line And you're going to come down by 1/4 of an inch. And then on the center back line of our pant, you're going to go up by 1/4 of an inch. So back line, come up by 1/4 of an inch at the waistline. Center front, come down by 1/4 of an inch and mark it. So now we're going to be creating the hip curve for the back and the front part of our pant sloper. So you come to this hip line. Now you're going to measure 2 inches from the hip line. You're going to mark it right there. And then you're going to use your hip curve. And you're going to curve from there to meet this 2 inches line. Remember, this is the front part. The front part will curve more than the back part. So you place your hip curve right so, and curve. And then turn it over and curve for the back. If you notice that the back curve is not as much as the front curve, when you sew it together, it will really blend well and there will be no puckering of your trouser. This is just the trick. So we just blend that. So that is what it looks like. These are the secrets of having a perfectly fitting trouser. Now, to shape the leg of our pant sloper, the very first thing we need to do is to get the grease or the grain line for both the front and the back part. And to do that, you're going to measure from the side outer seam line. This is the front, I'm working with the front part, and up to the crush curve right there. And then you're going to get the midpoint. For me, mine is 14.5. Remember I told you to get a midpoint. You just fold the tape like this is 14.5. I'll just fold the tape to meet that 14.5 right there. Fold my tape and then just squeeze the tape to be able to find out your midpoint. So this here is my midpoint for the 14.5. That should be 7.25. 7.25. So I'll just measure 7.25 on the crush line, and that is my 7.25. And then you add 1/4 of an inch to that. So that means my grain line is going to be 7.5. Hope it's clear. First, find the distance from here to here, divide it by 2, add 1/4 of an inch, and that is your grain line. And we are going to mark this grain line at the ankle line. So we'll also find the grain line for the back part of the pant. So after you've marked your grain line at the crush line, you now come down to the ankle line. This is the ankle line of our trouser. And you're going to also mark that 7.5 right there from the out seam. This is the front part. I also measured my own back part. My back part is 9 inches from the out seam. So I've marked that. So you're going to join this point to the crush point right there. You're going to draw a straight line from there to come and meet the point at the ankle line right there. So next we're going to now shape the ankle. And how do we do that? When you take your ankle circumference, or what I call the hem circumference, you're going to divide it by 2 for the front and the back. My hem circumference is 16 inches. If I divide it by 2, that will be 8 inches and 8 inches. But normally, for a proper fitting, your back hem should be 1 inch wider than your front hem. So that means since my total circumference is 16 inches, when I divide it by 2, I'm going to make my front hem 7.5 and my back 8.5 to actually give me that 16. So the back is 1 inch wider than the front. So this is the front part. And because the front part is 7.5, I'm going to look for 7.5 as usual right here. And I'm going to fold my tape to that particular position, like so. And half of each of this, I'll place it on both sides, using the green line as my center point. So fold it like so, and just place it like so. And then just mark where you have the 7.5 here and where you have this. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do now. So I have my hem lines for the front part of the pant sloper, and I also have it for the back part of the pant sloper, using the same folding of my measuring tape to get equal, to spread it on equal parts of the grain line. So now we are now going to join this to the out seam and join this to the cross curve. Now we are going to be creating the side seams. So to do that, you're going to draw a line using your ruler from the hip line. This here is the hip line, and you're going to draw it straight to meet the ankle line where we have our mark on using the hem circumference. That's for the front part, and we'll do the same thing for the back part. You draw a line from there and then meet it up also at the hip line. So that is done for the front out seam and the back out seam. So now we are going to be also joining the inseam, that is from the crotch to the ankle. So now let's start with the front crotch. Now remember, this is our front crotch extension. Now from this particular crotch extension, you're going to come in by 1/2 inch. So I'll get my tape, and I'm going to come in by 1/2 inch from that crotch point. And this here is my 1/2 inch, and I'm going to mark it. Now I'm going to use my ruler from that point. I'm going to join it to the inseam of the ankle right here. So I'm going to draw a line to this point. From this point, once you've drawn the line, the next thing is for you to measure about 5 inches down from that line and just mark it there on the line. And then you're going to use your hip curve, and you're going to curve from the end of the crotch curve to meet that 5 inches line. So it will have a seamless curve also. I like taking so much time to create my slopers because it is from these slopers you're going to create every other style. And once your slopers fit you perfectly, you don't have any problem. So the front trouser shape is almost ready. We are going to do the same thing for the back shape, the inseam of the back trouser. But instead of coming down 5, we are going to come down 3 inches. So this is the back part of our pant sloper, and that is the crotch curve, and I've come in exactly 0.5 inches, like that is half an inch, like the front curve, and then I've drawn the line from that position to meet the ankle position, just like we did for the front leg of the pant sloper. And now I'm going to come down 6 inches. Sorry, I said 3 inches before. It's 6 inches. And we'll do the same thing. We are now going to use our ruler. And we are going to curve it in such a way it meets up to that 6 inches position. And that is our inseam curve for the back part of the pant sloper. So now we're ready to shape the curves and the waist of the trouser. First of all, you're going to measure the front part curve to ensure that this front part curve and the back curve are the same length. So what you do, get your tape, place it from the waistline of the front part, follow the curve very well with your tape. Once you get to the, remember our 2 inches point, you mark the tape there and then turn it to this other side. And then from that particular point, we're going to follow the back point. Follow the back point. And you find that you need to lift the back waist a little bit. A little bit. It's not exactly at the line. So you're going to mark there. Just like so. Good. Then we are going to true our darts. If you've been watching my videos, you know that you need to true darts. Darts are not normally straight. That is why when you're doing your darts, you extend it a little bit from the waistline. So we're going to true the darts. So how do you do that? You get your tracing wheel, and then you trace one leg of the dart that is closest to the curve, closest to this part of the trouser. So we are going to use our tracing wheel, and we are going to trace that like so. Just trace it. This is to help you make the paper soft enough for you to fold the darts together to be able to true it. So you do that, and we'll also do that for this leg, and we'll also do the same for the 2 back darts, this leg and this leg. And then we are going to fold the darts. When you're folding the darts, you're folding your darts towards your side seam. That is, you fold this towards this side, fold this towards this side. So I folded in my darts for the front, and I've done same for my darts for the back. So now we are going to shape, first of all, the front waist of our pants. So remember that we came down by the center seam, 1/4 of an inch, if you remember. So we're now going to use our hip curve, and you're going to place it and recurve the waist, ensuring that the curve lies on that place and then on the waist of the front. and then we are going to shape it. And I would prefer to use a colored pencil when you're shaping it. So you're just going to shape it, and I'm going to do the same for the back and also shape the waist. So I've shaped for the back pant and also for the front pant. So what we're going to do now is to use our tracing wheel, and now we're going to trace along this colored line for the front and the same thing for the back. This is so that we are going to get marks when we open our darts. We will now trace and through those marks. So once you open up your darts again, all you have to do is to follow the line of the tracing wheel and just through the darts. Follow the line and through the darts using the same colored pencil. And it's also good you use this to through the darts. Like so. So the waist of your pant sloper should be looking like this at this time. That's the front. And that is the back. So then, now let us mark the knee of the trouser. So to get your waist to knee, you have your waist to knee measurement. Measure from the front part of the waist line and then to where you have your knee measurement. Mine is 24 inches and I mark it there. And I'm going to draw a line across the front part and across the back part. And that will be my knee level. After that, we are now going to put where we are going to put our notches. For the front part where you're going to put your notch, you come down 7 inches and put your notch. For the back part, we mark it at the intersection of the center. But remember, the back part normally has 2 notches. Separated, the 2 notches are separated by half an inch. So this is our finished pant sloper. That is the front. The front has only 1 notch. That is the front part of it. It has been labeled. And this here is the back. That is the back. And the back has 2 notches, separated from each other by 0.5 inches. So that is our pant sloper. It's a little bit complicated if you're watching it for the first time, but the good thing is that once you've done this, you can now use this to create all kinds of trouser styles. That's the importance of spending time, taking time to actually create a sloper with your measurement perfectly, so that whatever you're going to derive from this is going to fit you perfectly. I'm teaching you things that you will learn in a sewing school that you go and pay for, and I'm giving it to you free. I paid to learn all these things, but I'm giving it to you free. All I'm asking is remember to subscribe so you continue to learn how to do pattern drafting professionally. Thank you so much for watching.